Hey, welcome everybody. My name is Mitch Rosen from the Score. Thanks for joining us tonight on our virtual Scorehouse. We have done the Scorehouse concept. I'll explain it briefly and introduce everybody that's with us, and we'll expect some more of our Score friends to pop in. But this concept really started about 2 years ago when we started pricing out hotel rooms and things for Arizona for spring training. And as hotel rooms jump up during spring training, kind of a light bulb went off and said, why don't we just rent a big house and put as many of Score personalities and producers in the house, and let's see what happens. And a great 2 years. We had a lot of fun, a lot of great stories that we'll get into tonight. And we really appreciate everybody jumping on. I know a lot of listeners will join us throughout the evening. But a couple things I want to point out tonight. We'll talk about our first year, which was a lot of fun. We had some surprises, a mariachi band, a magician, and the famous vape pen story, and great dinners. Second year, probably the biggest house I've ever been in times 5. I thought the house was epic, and we had a lot of fun there. And the Score Olympics we did, and some classic moments like a intoxicated Dan Bernstein trying to teach a lifetime 300 major league hitter how to hit. So we'll get into that.
Somebody has to.
And
very informative.
Yeah, and this is it turned out to be fun bonding for the station, and brought people together, and whoever made it, it was great. And tonight similar, and all of us that could be here are here, so we appreciate it. Just to go around the horn, introduce people. I'm looking at a screen, so I'm not sure if it's in the same order, but the Grobber has jumped in tonight. Dan Bernstein, David Haw, Shane Reardon is with us, Jay Zawoski, Mully, Danny Parkins, Dustin Rhodes, Bruce Levine, and Ron Coomer. And again, we're expecting some others. Spiegel is actually in Arizona on a work trip with his wife and on a little vacation today. So we anticipate hearing from Speaks too. So at this point, feel free to interact with us on the Twitch questions and chat room if you want to ask any questions. And it's really going to be free form. We'll show some fun videos and talk about the experiences. So at that point, let's just kind of go around the horn, and I'll start with you, Dan Bernstein. You were there both years. What do you remember about Scorehouse the most?
I just remember it kind of reminds me of all my years going to summer camp with a good group of friends, being able to act differently than we do in our adult lives. At least as I've gotten older, it was an opportunity to be an idiot, and I really look forward to it. You know how athletes talk all the time about how the one thing they miss most about their career is the locker room, the camaraderie, the bus rides, and all that. And I think for a station that talks about sports, it gives us some of that. It has us kind of on top of each other a little bit. And I just think it was good to do it. It's good to be stupid. It's good to be silly and to kind of get to know each other in different ways.
Hey, Mull, the first year, a couple of years ago, we went and we had a real nice dinner, and some surprises happened along the way. I remember standing by the pool. What were your memories of that night of that famous dinner?
Oh my God, that was very well out of control, as I recall, Mitch. That when the magician showed up, that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen, because he was really kind of a failed magician, no offense to him, but it wasn't like overwhelming magic. I don't think there was a mystery as to how he was pulling off his tricks, but he worked hard, and I felt that Dan in particular was cruel to him, and was giving him a hard time. And the man is there kind of earning his livelihood, Dan, for God's sake.
Right.
I love the magician. I thought it was fun. My favorite moment is when you said surprises are coming, and the woman who was the caterer came out to talk to you, and there was like this frozen moment. They thought she was like, somebody was like, is she gonna dance? And I'm like, oh my God, no. There's no way that's going on.
That was funny. So just to bring the audience in, so the first year we hired a caterer to cook a executive chef, cook a dinner, and I had been in touch with this person all along, certain food, certain wine. So we just sit down to dinner. It was probably 7:30, 8 o'clock Arizona time, whole full table, and the doorbell rings. And everyone, who could it be? And I open this door, and a beautiful young woman says, "Are you Mitch?" And I'm thinking, well, yeah. and I see Jay Zawoski run in a room because he thought entertainment was there for the night, and it wasn't. She was from the catering company just dropping off a bottle of wine.
Leading up to that, though, Mitch, was there were a lot of moments that could have led us to that realization where there were some certain things sent by our old boss that sort of were along those lines. So that
Right.
that it wasn't just out of nowhere that could have happened, and maybe it was something you maybe wouldn't even have known about. So that
Correct.
was kind of in
Yep.
that moment where we all sort of froze. Are you Mitch? It was the proverbial record scratch where we all looked at each other like, oh my God. I think
It was fun.
Happen.
Yeah. Danny, you were there both years. What is your favorite memory over the couple of years?
Oh, there are so many, Mitch, and thank you for the introduction. As if our audience doesn't know who we are. We're the Score audience on the Score Twitch page. Like,
Right.
This is Dan Bernstein. Oh, thank you.
That guy, yeah.
Reset.
Yeah. Dan, do you think the Score audience knows who you are? And by the way, I'm convinced that if Jimmy would have still been here by like Scorehouse 5, he would have gotten us all fired. I think that because he was going to absolutely bring in entertainment that would have been very, very inappropriate. I mean, I think like obviously the story that I am most associated with of Scorehouse past is almost killing Connor McKnight. Because big tree fall hard. And he said, he's like, I've smoked before and I can handle it. And I was like, okay, this pen hits pretty hard, buddy. And he said, no, it'll be fine. I'll take a small one. Show me how to do it. And I showed him how to take a small one. And he took a small one. He took a small hit off of a little weed pen. It's fine. It's normal, natural. It happens. Legal now. It's great. And like 6 minutes later, he on a concrete patio just
It was my legs. It was the back of my legs. He came down because I was like, what the, it was like someone pushed a cart into me. He went right into my left calf and then face planted.
Molly,
if you weren't there.
He was next to me too, and I went to pick
we
him
were
up
standing there.
right there. I went to pick him up by his belt like that. That's funny. And just pick him right up off the ground. And I went,
right.
He's not kidding.
No, we were
so
there.
Coom, what was worse then, having to watch a grown man not being able to handle his weed, or having to watch a grown man not be able to handle his wine?
Well, as somebody who's 54, the weed thing never really got to my area. I'm kind of out on that thing. So
Hey, Speeds, mute yourself, bud.
The hitting thing left more of an impact on me personally, but I'm guessing Connor has a different conversation if you ask him about it.
David,
Dan, what possessed you to sit there in front of Ron Coomer, a former All-Star, as we're reminded, and tell him how he hit? Ron Coomer how he hit the ball.
This has taken out a complete life of its own. I had
not out of context.
I had confusion as to whether or not he was a one-hand finish or a two-hand finish, if I remember correctly. But the actual conversation was a substantive conversation about hitting. It was, as it always is with Coom.
Yeah, it started that way, but then Coom told you he did something one way, and then you correct him and tried to correct him.
I didn't remember it that way. And that's what I said. I remembered his finish looking different than he insisted it was.
And after about 15,000 swings, I kind of know my swing.
I think probably.
Just saying,
I think I'll take the L on that one.
See, here's the thing.
Yeah, go.
Here's
Matt Spiegel.
Here's the thing about Drinky Bernstein is that he's even more confident that he knows what everybody does better than them. So that was amplified. But he's also delightfully agreeable about admitting that he's wrong. So you backed off pretty quick. Once Coom said, I think I know my own stance, you realized, yes, I'm an idiot. Okay, all right, fine. And you backed up, which was very nice.
I enjoyed the passion.
That goes all the way back to being on a bus ride with the Rockford Royals in the minor leagues when the bus driver is trying to go to Fort Wayne, and like he goes on this weird road, and I'm sitting like the third row, and I'm thinking like, God, where is he turning? Like, what is he doing here? And one of the coaches is like, this dude thinks he can tell our bus driver where to go. I mean, it was, I came by it honestly, and that was stone cold sober.
Did the bus driver tell you where to go, Dan? That day?
He's like, I think I know how to do this, so I'm fine, whatever.
Hey, Grobber, after hearing all of this, did you want to have been there at all?
It would have been kind of cool, but I thought the stories I got back here in Chicago about that were pretty entertaining anyway. I had a lot of fun with it, and we were able to talk a little bit about it on the air late at night, and there were a lot of people that were asking me questions that I could not answer. I said, but I guarantee you, and Bernsey will remember this, when we were in Salt Lake City with the Bulls, both in 97 and 98, when they were winning their last 2 titles, some of the overnight shows, we had people come over there, and they were a little, shall we say, out of sorts. It was fun.
Just a reminder, questions you can ask in the Twitch chat room. And David, what was your thought? You were there year 1 being at Scorehouse.
Yeah, I thought the magician was great, especially when he made Connor disappear. Thought that was really impressive.
The line of the night.
That's Mitch. That was fun. Our memories are going to be different because that's the furthest I think Molly and I ever went for a dinner invitation. So we were there for all of, I think, 25 hours perhaps, but it was fun. 25 hours. What I remember about the dinner was the food was great. It was a lot of fun. And I think Ron Coomer at one point looked after all the shenanigans, was like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that was not the case last year, though. There was one night that Coom came for you probably came, Coom, at like 10 o'clock one night. We had just gotten back from dinner, I think. And you stayed until 1, 2 in the morning. We smoked 2 or 3 cigars, I think.
We had a 2-cigar night after dinner out with all of us. I did not have to go through my hitting situation again and how we did all that, but we had a really good night. It was very good. We had some good wine at dinner early, and so I brought some cigars, and it was a cigar night. It was perfect out there. The house was gorgeous, and the pool, and yeah, it was a good night.
Jay, why do you think the
See,
first year?
what I remember about that night is all of us trying to tell stories, doing the best we could with the references that we could make. And in a baseball atmosphere, Bruce Levine showed up, and the stories elevated because Bruce knows a lot of people, and it was impressive. And then Coom showed up, and all of a sudden the stories were about Kirby Puckett and a bag full of cash. It was just like the stories jumped an extra level that none of us could hang with, and we're just listening to Coom as he took us inside the clubhouse in a million ways. I'm sorry.
Mitch, a Twitch user, MPAT75, wants to know why wasn't Wani invited? You tried to get Wani year 2, right? You tried to get him as a special guest.
Yeah, I tried to get Wani in year 1 or 2. I was close on bringing Terry Boers as a surprise dinner guest. I don't know if anybody knew that, but we had flights worked out, and he had a small medical issue at the time, but he was set to walk in the door at about 6 o'clock. I think it was year 1 actually, and it didn't work, but tried to get Wani down there. He tried to rearrange his schedule, and Joe Madden was close on committing, but he did not attend. But it was also fun when Theo and Jed on the air told a similar story. I think when they were in San Diego, right, Danny? And they did something similar.
Muted.
Danny's muted. Well, a lot of people in 2 to 6 like to think that's better. Ooh.
Oh. Speed, you're muted too.
Good.
But that was.
There you go.
Yeah, we got you now, Danny. Yeah.
Sorry, these AirPods like dimmed out or broke out during the segment, whatever. Theo and Jed had their frat that they called Phi Sign a Player or whatever, and I don't know, everybody got a kick out of that we were doing it, but I always thought that was the sneaky part of this is that it was cheaper for the station. Like this was the most brilliant marketing campaign ever. Like it actually saved Entercom money. Came across as cooler.
Which is Danny, you didn't see Molly and I's hotel bill where we stayed.
yeah. No, that's fair.
That place they put us up at a place that was like frozen in time, 1982, wasn't it? More like the Tally Ho.
Yeah, the Tally Ho. It's like from the 1950s. I mean, it was spectacular.
Knocked down. They knocked it down last year.
It was great, but I think we
Did
got
they
charged
really
for
knock
the
it
mints
down,
on the
Bruce?
pillow. It was crazy.
Wait,
But you had umbrellas in your drinks, though, guys.
Yeah, we did.
I'm bummed. I wanted to go back there someday.
You can.
Oh, that's too bad.
What's the
What did they
worst
put up?
hotel you guys
What
have
did they build?
ever?
The worst
What did
hotel
they
we
build? I gotta know.
Super
No
Bowl,
idea.
Jacksonville, Crack House.
No, Green Bay, wasn't it? Molly, didn't you do
literal
sleeping-
Crack House? We didn't stay in it, but we were. Andy Garcia put us in for the Jacksonville Super Bowl. He said it's like a day's in or whatever it was, and we pull up, and there's a cop there, and the cop says, "What are you doing here?" And we said, "Well, we're from Chicago, we're a radio station." He goes, "Get out of here." Well, this is we're a reservation. We have to stay here. It was a literal crack house, and a guy came out of the room next to there's broken glass in all the rooms, blood stains everywhere. A guy comes out with a gun, and we left with no place to stay.
That didn't happen. A guy did not come out with a gun.
Ask anybody. Terry
Shot Dan. He shot Dan. And Dan spit out the bullet because he knows how to use the jaws when he's.
You can ask Jonathan Hood was there. You can ask him.
Who?
Jay Hood was on that.
I thought the most interesting thing for me was year one. After dinner, everybody had to go around and tell how much they loved each other and what the score meant to them. I thought there were so many times where I could hardly contain myself from running out of there screaming because it was so hilarious. And and again, it was a typical Jimmy thing, I mean, it was just
that happened organically, Bruce. That just I think Jimmy gave a speech and then Danny got up and started talking. And then it went around the room.
I wish that was videoed because it was hilarious in its own way.
Bruce, what were you doing more? Bruce, what were you doing more? Laughing at that point, or just basically lying about how much you loved everybody there?
Good question.
That's pretty incriminating, Grabber.
Your Honor,
I wasn't there. I was back here.
We can't plead the fifth on radio, can we?
Mac was like giving me the eye. He was like, "It's really," and then afterwards, it was really important that you spoke at that dinner to like establish yourself as a member of the team. I was like, it definitely wasn't. It was definitely not very important. But like he was just like, because I think Mac spoke and Burnsy spoke, and like it kind of like went in order of tenure. And I was like, I mean, obviously I'm not going to not stand up when I'm the next most tenured person, but I was the least most tenured person. And Mac at the end just very seriously was like, it was very important that you did that. Okay.
Speaking of Mac, it was, it's all the food is the most important thing, and liquor. And when I would get there, usually on Sunday morning, a lot of other people get there in the afternoon or evening. The first trip would be to Costco. And Shane, you experienced the Costco trip last year. We would hire promotions people from our Phoenix stations with Intercom, and we'd go right to from the airport to Costco and $800-900 worth of food. And at the end of the week, most of the time, half the food was still there. Nobody ate it, but we always overbought. But that was fun. And Matt cooking, I remember he was making scallops one night. He's asking everyone how you want them, and I said, "Well done." He thought I said red wine, so these scallops came out, soaked in red wine, and it was funny. But the dinners, I know, gross.
Well, like you said, Mitch, $800-900 worth of food. And the one thing I remember from that Costco trip last year was I brought a thing of butter to the cart from Costco, and it was Kerrygold butter. It was like 4 sticks or 8 sticks of Kerrygold butter, and you freaked out that the Kerrygold butter was too expensive. You'd rather I get the Kirkland brand, which is like $1.25 cheaper. So we had to suffer with Kirkland brand butter as opposed to Kerrygold. We're spending $800.
Mac was really generous with the cooking, and really he would get up early in the morning, and especially in year 2, and he was making breakfast for people. It was really kind of sweet. And even though you spent money to bring in professional chefs and caterers and all this stuff. I have to say, from everybody else can vote on this, but I give Shane a lot of crap on the air and off. His steak dinner was, for me, in 2 years, easily the best dinner made at Scorehouse, without question. And Mac's scallops were good, but Shane was just on top of that. I mean, to do what he did, getting those steaks just right.
Yep.
Was it grilled vegetables? I mean, remind me what else was part of that dinner, but that was really good.
I appreciate it. it was asparagus and just some kind of roasted potato, like a parboiled potato.
Dan,
Speaks
that
is
was
his own world.
So you're like, Mac was so generous, he cooked it, but Shane really made a great steak. You walked right up to a compliment, and you took a right turn.
Speaking of Bernstein berating people, can we take 3 minutes here? You guys go to the bathroom, do whatever you got to do, and come back with Bernstein's Christian Bale moment with Mac. Can we do that, Gertch?
Yes. Welcome back to Scorehouse, virtual Scorehouse. Thanks for watching, everybody, on our Score Twitch channel. We'll go back around the horn, but we promise not to take any more breaks tonight. We really don't have to, which is great. While we were gone, we could reenact in 1963. A lot of things happened. Les, what happened, unfortunately, to President Kennedy in 1963?
That was November 22nd, and we don't know if it was Lee Harvey Oswald or a whole big thing there, but he kind of got blown away. And I went to the schoolyard. I was in grade school, and I told everybody what had happened because I was watching Bozo's Circus, and then they said, "You're a liar." And I told the teachers, put on the radio, and if I'm not lying, then I get a whole week off without any kind of penalty. And they put it on. Sure enough, it had happened, and then we found out 5 minutes later that he was deceased.
Great story, Les.
Bozo was?
No.
I feel like
fine.
Bozo was deceased before he ever got on TV, Bruce.
How was Cookie? Is he okay too?
Well, no, it was Oliver Ray Rayner.
Thanks.
I feel like
Speaks. Go ahead.
I feel like Les has been waiting his entire radio career to be the old guy who has seen more than everybody, and he's finally there. Like, he's seen more than all of them, so he can just regale us with stories.
I was on with Terry. Terry also knew a lot of stuff from the same era I did. Come on now. And Terry's a bigger legend than any of us.
But now it's your territory, Les. It's all you. Go.
We did. Hey, I want to introduce Jay Zawoski. Jay, you were producing both years there and doing a great job. What are your memories of both years of Scorehouse?
You talked about your trip to Costco, and one of my favorite memories, Mitch. I don't know if I've ever given you crap about this before, so I'm going to do it for the first time. We arrive in Arizona from Chicago in February. It's 75 degrees. Walk into Scorehouse, and Mitch is like, "You want some chicken pot pie?" The last thing I want in Arizona is chicken pot pie. This is food for the winter in Chicago. Hey, it fed all of us, and it was really, really good. But it was just the second year, especially, just blown away by the accommodations. That's not something someone in my position gets to do very often, and it was a lot of fun. It was just it was not forced fun. Everyone got along. It was just, I don't know. I think it was the second year, especially. We had sort of found our groove. Everyone sort of did what they wanted to do, and then we all came together at the end of the night, and every night was memorable and fun. And I'm like you, Mitch. I'm an early shuffler. I will leave, when no one's looking, and I stayed up late, and that's rare for me. That means I'm having a really good time, and to do it with all you guys was just awesome. It's something I'll never forget. There's a few experiences I've had in my 20 plus years now at the Score, which is crazy. I got the 1160 flag behind me. Our 2 trips to Ireland, Spiegs, I will never forget. And the 2 Scorehouses were just unforgettable, fun experiences that, had I not chosen this industry, I never would have had the opportunity to do. So thank you for making it happen. And to spend it with you guys just made it that much sweeter. So it's been awesome. It's been so much fun. And I really, except
Mac
you,
would
Parker.
love that speech, Jay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It was really important that you made that speech.
Thank you.
Jay, were you with us the night?
I love you.
One when I think it was Shep that pulled out the picture of Rick Camp first in line
Yeah.
at
Real urban
barbecue, and because of Harkins and things, we were all primed for a kind of laughing jag that was like when we talk about, Mike Mulligan always talks about creasing oneself, and just like you're laughing so hard you never think you're gonna stop. That picture of Rick Camp at just the right time is still that's one of the hardest laughs I've had in memory.
So for those that don't know, Real Urban Barbecue opened in Oak Brook, and the first person in line would win barbecue for a year. So Campy wanted to try. Not only is Rick the first in line, he's the only person in line, and he's sitting down on the ground. He's got a sleeping bag around his waist, an ill-fitting wool cap on, and there's just some guy staring at him in the photo. And Rick just has this huge grin on his face, knowing that he's hours away from free barbecue for a year. It is peak Campy. And if I can find this photo, I don't know if it was overnight or if he had to get there at like 4 or 5 in the morning, but he was ready, he was camped out, and he was not going to miss that barbecue, and he didn't. But
I mean this sincerely. I obviously don't know Campy as well as Jay does, and he was the first, sound guy that I had when I got the job at the Score. But like, I've never seen anyone so happy, like as he is in that picture. He's so proud of himself for what he is about to accomplish. He feels like he is on the greatest come up of all time. And I don't even think it was unlimited barbecue for a year. I think it was like capped at like $200 a month of barbecue for a year, which is, $2,400 worth of barbecue. But like
a normal person amount of barbecue, yes.
Yeah, right.
They didn't give me enough. They said free for a year. Yeah, he was unhappy with the I gotta find this picture. Brian Gertz, if I find it, I'll text it to you.
It's up already. Brian put it up there
already. Yes,
it's incredible. It's an incredible picture.
That is so great.
I feel like I'm Danny Parkins and Mitch, you're the producer, for totally ruining my tease of going to Bernstein's Christian Bale moment. Can we play the Christian Bale moment?
Yeah, let's do it right now.
Stay in the scene. Okay. Stay in the scene.
That's a good shrimp.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Hello. How's it going? All right, are we cut? Did you cut? Okay.
Ambitious.
We didn't sit there back there in that trailer working on this for this in front of them. Jesus Christ!
Are they not ambitious?
Cut it. Do the take again. They are.
Give me that A word. Give me that A word.
Amazing. Cole. You call yourself an actor? You studied under Strasberg? Not having it. I don't do things like this on scenes like this. Let's go. Run it. Start the scene.
Give me that A word.
These are ambitious.
Scorehouse. We're back live, guys.
That, I mean, for context, Dan, right? You're the only one who immediately knew how to peel the shrimp before you ate it. Everybody else just tried to kind of bite into the shell of the shrimp, and you knew what you were doing.
I don't know. I just knew we were. It was a potential for a pretty decent bit, and the vibe felt right.
Good vibe.
That was good. Do you remember how pissed at the Mac Scorehouse year one? I wasn't there, but Mac wasn't happy with his scallops for you guys, right? Because the pans were trash. So the second year, he vowed to bring his own pan. So he checked a bag so he could bring his own grill cast iron pan to make scallops for everybody, and they were very good. He did the shrimp in there too.
You said to me, you said he brought the pan. It's not the pan. It's the heat.
No.
You said it's all about the heat, and it doesn't matter what pan it is. He just couldn't generate enough heat.
Yeah, it's not his fault. Not his fault, but they were good. The shrimp especially was really good.
Taking that through TSA though is questionable, even if you're checking your bag. Like someone could look at that and be like, "Why are you taking a big cast iron pan through security?" But no, Dan, your movie scene reenactment and acting ability is very impressive. You want to regale us with some Princess Bride right now, by any chance?
Like the stuff with Benetti. That was fun.
I'm just saying it was incredible. Like you have a hidden talent.
No, I'm not jukeboxing this. No.
Okay. I'm just saying you have a hidden talent as a voice actor.
Ben, sing a song. Go on, sing us a song.
Yeah, Piano Man.
Piano.
No. Okay.
We have an actual singer here if you want that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just amazed that Danny knew a music reference. That was amazing.
I've seen Billy Joel in concert twice. Speaks.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's strong.
Thank you.
I
I gotta say, the idea of all of us in one place from morning show through the afternoon with guests such as Coom and Bruce and others is pretty amazing. It's like an old school radio vibe. And Mitch, you can speak to this, to the AM 1000s and the FM loops and all the places you've been. I've always wanted to be at a place where everybody referenced each other and gave each other shit and hung out and enjoyed each other. And it was, I mean, you worked at places like that. And we are places like that at our best, right?
Yeah, I think that's what makes the Score great. But I had the, fortunate to work at the Loop in the day with Brandmeier and Steve Dahl and Kevin Matthews and Danny Bonaducci. And it was a brand. And I truly believe the Score is a Chicago brand with our loyal listeners and viewers and, modern day technology. But it's about the personalities, right? And you go back to the early days with North and Jiggets and McNeil and Boers and Dan Jiggets and Doug Buffone, who we lost, we think of a lot, especially with the Bears drama going on. But this is what it's all about. I think people look at our brand as a club that they like to be part of. And we let them in our house every day and we talk sports and we give opinions. But at the end of the day, it's about you guys. It's about the producers. It's about the on-air talent and personalities and coming together and bonding and talking. And Scorehouse, again, I'd be lying to you if I told you I went into it, let's do it this way. Went into it open-minded that, hey, it makes sense from a financial standpoint. And it ended up being a great promotion where great stories, always the next morning, what happened at Scorehouse the night before. And we found that listeners love that. Taking listeners behind the curtain, behind the microphone a little bit, is what sports radio and personality radio is all about. And, we feel that's what makes the Score special over the years. And a number of you have been around a long time, like Dan and Mully and Speaks, many years with our brand. And people, I don't think you guys realize, the personalities realize that the audience looks at you as celebrities. And Terry Boers had a great line once. I don't know any of you, but everybody knows me. And if you really think about that, that's the medium and the power of radio. And that's what sports radio and personality radio is. So Speaks' long-winded question, that's what we strive to be every day. We're not always perfect in terms of, bonding and everybody getting along. We try to, and I think as we've matured over the years, that's our goal. And especially with crosstalk and transition, I think that's really helped over the years.
So Mitch, what's the post-pandemic answer? Score campground with tents?
Yeah, Monsters
Looking
Inc.
at
suits. Yeah. Listen, if things are safe and everyone's vaccinated and, we feel safe as a company locally, next year we'd love to do Scorehouse or maybe Bourbon A House. Well, the Bears aren't there. They'll be at Hallis. I forgot that. But maybe, we would be in Arizona next year, David. But to continue things like this are always fun things to do.
Les, do you want to do Scorehouse 3 and then just...
I'd like to see Pat Hughes, Ron Coomer, Boog, JD do a version and do a Cub House.
Coom, what do you think?
Dan, stick to your 9 to noon. Yeah.
Yeah, these
we
guys
got a
are all
question.
coddled TV people.
Yeah, you get
Coddled
Mr.
big
Hughes
leaguers.
to go there. I'm all for it. That would be very entertaining to me.
We got a good question
get
from the
back.
Twitch audience. W. Wilson for Life wants to know what was the most uncomfortable situation at Scorehouse 2, outside of the Bernstein telling Coom how to hit. Most uncomfortable situation.
Shane, that was yours. I know that.
No, W. Wilson for Life. You and I have already talked about Bernstein, Coom. Was there an uncomfortable situation at Scorehouse 2?
The most physically uncomfortable was trying to eat Pringles quickly for the video we made. I didn't realize that shoving Pringles in your mouth, they expand like
Yeah.
expansive. I can't think of a
Jay,
right now.
Jay,
I almost
you
died.
Really disappointed me. Jay, you
I know.
really disappointed me.
I
I had big
disappointed
money on
myself.
you downing. It was just a small can of Pringles. That should be like a 30-second endeavor for you. You struggled.
I did struggle. I am embarrassed by it, and I hurt my brand.
Wait, I don't know, embarrassing, but Speaks, you remember you were leaving. I think you had a death in your family or something. You had to leave at last minute. And,
Yeah.
the night before, I think, was our big party. So you're going strong. And then you're slowing down. I went to bed. I got up early, and you literally, I think, you left the house with 40 minutes left before your flight took off, and you were like, OJ running through the house in an airport.
Yeah, and I missed my flight. Truth be told, now I missed my flight, and it was a disaster personally. Thanks for bringing it up. I appreciate that.
That's what the Scorehouse is for, Speaks.
Scorehouse, and it ruins your life.
In the middle of Score Street, Scorehouse. Yeah. So, I missed the flight, and I'm lucky to have survived in my personal life since then, and I've learned a lot of lessons. And again, thank you. So where should I send the $35 copay, Mitch? This has been valuable. I appreciate it.
You were so heated that morning when you woke up, because we were bunkmates. He's like yelling at me as if I'm like not like his concierge service to wake him up. I'm like, I don't know, dude, you're a grown ass man. Make your flight.
Yeah, no, it was totally your fault. It was absolutely your fault. At that point, I'd abdicated responsibility. I think that was clear to everyone. And I was making fun of Bernsey for drinking too much. There was no way I was going to step into that breach at that point.
Yeah. Scorehouse too. What you guys didn't see, because Mitch and I flew in before everybody to make sure that everything was ready and the food was there. The second we get into the house, Mitch bolted for the room with the sauna. Mitch had his own personal deck and a fountain out there in a full ass sauna.
A Schwitz.
That tub. He had this glorious tub. He could be a tea bag. He could be a tea bag in this giant coffee mug if he wanted to. I don't know if you used it. I would have. Did you?
I was afraid I wouldn't get out of it, Speaks, if I went in it. That was a great house. The yoga, remember the yoga room upstairs?
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did so much yoga, all of us. Man, that was so
That's something I don't want to think about.
Basic dog, all of us.
David, you and your Lululemons that I always compliment you on. You could lead us through some downward dog.
Oh, namaste. Yeah, you're right. It could. Yeah. Not all of you.
No. I
Guys,
was thinking, by the way, but back to, because my mic muted at the Penn story. You had kind of like just joined the Score before Scorehouse won, like relatively recently, and I kind of got the impression that you were kind of appalled by us, and maybe me specifically.
That was just you, Danny.
Yeah, dude, maybe me specifically for like having Connor.
I knew everybody else really well. I've been
here. Like you're
a
journal.
Yeah, I've been here long enough to know everybody else. You were appalling.
I understand.
I understand. This is Parkins projecting. This is Danny Parkins projecting. Welcome to my world. I'll have to
exactly
2-6 on the score.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you're a dignified newspaper man, and I respect you, and you make us all more credible for being on the team.
It was fun.
Break 1, 53-52. Sorry.
From either Score 1 or Score 2, if you guys are back in your college days, from the people that you lived with in those houses, who would have been the absolute worst roommate?
Shane, you worked on that question, didn't you? You worked on that.
No, that's been sitting. Coom, I want to hear from you, Coom. Who would have been the worst roommate? You didn't stay there, but you saw people.
Yeah, Dan, you win.
Fair enough.
It's late night conversations that couldn't have been good for the roomie. That's unless you passed out. The knowing everything that would have been another irritable. And then being sloppy, you strike out. That's 3 strikes. That's it. That's all you get.
He would have done the dishes or something. He would have made up for it by doing the dishes or cooking.
That would be a plus. But see, I didn't get to see any of that. I was only there at night, post dinners. So I didn't get to see the daytime frolicking around or whatever you guys are doing there.
Dustin, were you there year 1?
Never there. No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
I think we had Rosenblum and Grody when Mully and Hall were out there for their 25 hours. I think it was Rosenblum and Grody filling in for the guys. I would have loved it. I would have loved the cigars with Coomer. I would have loved to have Shane's steak
Meat.
dinner.
Yeah.
And maybe Dan and I would have argued about metrics and things like that.
Bruce, who would have been the worst roommate?
Worst roommate.
And would they mount
Probably-
their catcher's gear on the wall?
without any question would have been me. There's no doubt about it, because I'm the most social, antisocial person you'll ever meet in your entire life. I like people when I'm around them. I enjoy their company. I like to hear their stories. And then when it's over with, I'm the happiest guy to be able to walk away. So I'm a social, antisocial.
Now you know what
I would be
spring
the
training is like at the end of a day, at the end of a ball game, when him and I are sitting next to each other in a press box. He's like, okay, I've had enough of Coomer. Get out.
I think a lot of us are like that, though, like in this field. I know I am, like the extroverted introvert, right? Like,
same thing.
That's been one of the hardest parts, if I'm being completely honest, about quarantine and doing all these shows from home. Like, when I get off the air after 4 hours, I like to decompress and live in silence for my commute home, whatever it is, 15, 30, 40 minutes, whatever. And now it's like, walk out of my bedroom. Here's an infant. Bedtime, nap time.
Danny, believe me, I will trade you an infant for a 16-year-old who is all he wants is a sports talk show. The moment I walk out that door, he's got 15 Mount Rushmores and he's arguing with his friends, and he's like, I'm on the phone with Jacob. He thinks that Chamberlain is better than LeBron. And it's like, I will take the infant, I will do diapers, I will read stories, I will do Gorilla. I would so much rather have that than somebody trying to make you do a free talk show.
Yeah, ask your dad how that was when you were growing
up.
Oh,
he just busy working.
Podcast, Dan. Podcast.
Tell him to.
You know, a lot of people, it's interesting you bring that up, Danny, and everyone else. A lot of people in our, outside of our business think talk show hosts and producers, they work for 4 hours a day, right? They talk from 5 to 9 in the morning or 9 to noon. But I mean, you're watching every game tonight. I'm sure many of you have an eye on NCAA, the Blackhawks, the Bears news, and it's more than that. And I've worked for a lot of people through the years, and they said, well, that host, does 3 hours a day, and they don't realize how much preparation and planning goes into it. Jay and Dustin, just to bring people behind the scenes a little bit, and Jay, especially at Scorehouse, what would a typical day be like, getting ready, go to the ballpark, and, angst, is this guest going to show up or that? Kind of bring us through that a little bit.
Well, that was, and Dustin knows this too. That's sort of the struggle of every day is this guest going to come through? Are they going to get back to me when it's time for them to come on? Are they actually going to call? All those sort of things. But at Scorehouse, it's amplified because you're dealing with major league players coming to visit you in person. And that is the hardest thing to pin down. So you're dealing with the uncertainty of how the show is going to go, the timing of the show. Meanwhile, the hosts like to know, and naturally, it makes perfect sense, what's happening when, so they can prepare the show in their heads. And sometimes it's impossible to have that information. So looking around corners, looking for Peter Chase, the Cubs PR guy, like, is he coming down the hallway? Is he on the golf cart? Bruce is downstairs. I see him on the cart. He's going up. He'll be there in 35 seconds, and we got to get ready. And it's stressful. And when it comes through, it's fun. But being a producer at Scorehouse is different because while everyone's around the campfire, everybody's having fun and eating, I'm on my phone. I'm checking my email. I'm never fully, the hosts are probably this way too, but I'm never fully engaged in the relaxation because I can't. Because if I do, I feel like I'm going to miss something. I can't let myself go too far in terms of booze or smoke or whatever, because if I have to start working all of a sudden, it's an adjustment I have to make on the fly. So you got to sort of stay always ready. And that's like I said, that's a challenge of every day. But a Scorehouse is amplified because of the atmosphere and because of the size of the guests. They're just Theo, Jed, Madden, Bryant, Rizzo. It's just the biggest names we'll get all year, all in the course of 2 or 3 days.
Hey, cool.
Guys, I got a question for you, Danny. Let me ask you a question. So for all you guys, and I feel this way, so I'll speak for myself. I feel this way. We are never allowed as a baseball broadcaster to disengage in Major League Baseball. You just don't. You're always checking and looking. for you guys, you got every sport. I've got one sport. You've got every sport, and you've got everything that's going on in the city, from being socially aware of the news to every sport. I mean, that's the one thing people don't see, to Mitch's point, that you guys are engaged 24/7 all the time. That's just the job. That's what we've signed up for. Is that not how you guys feel?
Definitely. And we have a policy, whom no politics ever. I don't care if people are blue,
In Chicago?
blue, red, purple, with pink and yellow polka dots. We're a sports station, and we keep it at that all the time, because
Overnight.
otherwise, you want to talk about a war between people talking. If we were to get into politics, it would be absolutely brutal.
Yeah, I don't have that policy, but
nor do I.
Do you let them talk about whether they're a Republican or a Democrat or stuff like that?
I mean, no, but like the issues dictate the conversation. But to Coom's point, like, yeah, it's like the world's smallest violin thing. But if people do ask, like, what's the worst part of your job? You have such a great job. You talk about sports for 4 hours a day, and it is an amazing job. While I had no problem with what Jay was talking about in terms of enjoying the booze or the smoke at Scorehouse, I'm definitely able to let my hair down. That is not my problem. But I've checked Twitter 17 times since this thing has started, right? Like, Brad Biggs is reporting that the Bears have given Akeem Hicks permission to seek a trade. Allen Robinson has accepted the franchise tag. They've cut Kyle Fuller. Drake won the NCAA tournament game. Like, all since the Scorehouse has started, but like, I obviously have plenty of time to catch up on all of that before 2:00 tomorrow, but there's like something in the biochemistry of the host to like always be on in that way. And so you're like, at least for me, it's been an issue with like sleep or communication with your wife. Like, it's like, oh, you're checking your phone again, or like, no, this is important. Like, this happened. I got to get this takeout there. It's like, we're at dinner. Like, yeah, you're right. I probably shouldn't, but like, I'm still working on that and like adjusting. But the not being able to turn off the job, because 4 hours is a lot of content to fill every day. And so I think that at least that's how I operate, is that like, I have a notepad already in my phone for tomorrow's show, and I got off the air less than 2 hours ago. And
you mean like
dinner.
this?
Yeah,
Like this?
But that's only the radio component. I mean, when something like all of a sudden Andy Dalton signs, and you're going in on Twitter, and then Cody Westerland says, I need 700 words. Can you get it to me in an hour? Then all of a sudden, everything I was supposed to do, I was like, Beth, Jason, I know I was supposed to make dinner. You're on your own. You're ordering Chipotle or Lou Malnati's because I got to write. And somebody, that's what we do. That's our job. And the news means we do things when we do it. And and the other thing is, trust your producers.
Hey, Mully and Haw and Dustin. So you guys obviously early risers. You're on the air live at 5, and you're staying up to watch games. What could a typical night be? Let's say Bulls or Blackhawks, or a normal Cubs or White Sox game on a Tuesday night. Mully, what's that night like for you? And when do you go to bed and wake up and all that?
It all depends on what's going on, and you watch a lot of sports, man. I mean, I think all of us watch a ton of sports, always have. And the weirdest thing is, I'm sitting here listening to this. Like, I don't like taking time off, because when you take time off, then you got to restart all over again. And you got to, I used to find, like, as a sports writer, that if you took just a week off, you would think that would refresh you, but you just fall out of the grind mode. You fall out of the, kind of the mentality you need to just, so I think none of us really take a lot of time off. And it's because it's such a pain in the keister to sort of restart the engine. If you do, it's hard to relax.
Yeah, and I think the newspaper background, similar to what Mully said, I mean, you get accustomed and you condition to, like, you think in terms of headlines. So what are the 5 biggest headlines? And so you really don't go much deeper than that in a 4-hour talk show. I mean, even though you want to give depth and context and all those things, it's the headlines. So you don't want to miss anything big. You don't want to overlook anything, but that's kind of the way you prepare. So on a Tuesday night after a Hawks game or a Bulls game or whatever, watch it, you watch a little bit of the post game, you go to bed and you get up and you kind of get into routine. But yeah, I think you're always sort of just paying attention, so it doesn't consume you, and you're not like, you want to be there when you're not always 100% there. Like, thank you, Danny, for your undivided attention tonight. I mean, it's like, we're writing down, we're all kind of doing something else, right? And that's kind of the way you get accustomed to kind of handling things.
How about you, Dustin, as a producer?
Yeah, well, something that Jay had said earlier, the same kind of thing. A live show and a live show on the road in the early hours. We've this show has been in Vegas a few times for Super Bowls, and so you're talking about being live on the air 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. And we've actually had some like live guests stroll in like off the crap tables, or after like the Monday after the Super Bowl, we had a guy who would like run around all the sports books and had like gotten the figures on how much had been bet, who, which prop had the places erupt. And to Jay's point also, like, I'm the dork who goes to events with a legal pad and a pen in my hand. Now, if there's Bud Light or something else being served, I'll have one or two of those as well. But I've got my notepad and I'm writing things down and I'm texting with Ray and I'm saying, hey, 5:15 in the third quarter, let's make sure we have Collinsworth saying this, stuff like that. So it's a job, but it's not digging trenches, it's not pouring concrete, it's not tarring roofs. It is what it is. It is what you make of it. And I've learned over the years, especially at the Score, like our audience really cares about professional sports and or sports you can gamble on. So the tournament is fine until everybody's brackets are busted up. Until everybody's brackets are busted up. Listen, Blackhawks hockey is